I'm here with artist Karenliz Henderson, and you have brought with you a stained glass technique that has nothing to do with glass.
Nope. I wanted to create a stained glass that you don't have to put light behind it.
That's awesome, and we're actually starting just with a board.
Yes, a canvas panel, and I painted it with black gesso.
And I was going to say, black gesso is different from black paint. For what reason?
Well, it's matte, for one thing. Remember, we're doing stained glass. We don't have iron or lead, so that's why I choose the black gesso.
Cool. What's next?
So next what we do is we just add our stencil design. And what I do is I just choose which way I want to do it. And
I like it on the angle.
Yes, I like angles. And I use white gesso.
Really? You're not
Yes.
going to use like a modeling paste or something? I would think gesso would be so thin it would run under the stencil.
No, it's okay. You just have to be really, really careful using it.
Oh no, careful is not my strong suit.
Yeah, I know. But you have to have patience.
Okay.
So you just have to pounce in the paint and pounce it back off a little bit so you don't have too much underneath
Because
your
the
stencil.
more water you have, right, the more it runs under the stencil.
Under the stencil. You just kind of have to have a little more patience.
Now you
when
could,
do
of course, tape down your stencil, but I notice you're very skilled at just holding the stencil in place.
It's not. You can tape it down, but I like to hold it. It's just me.
I like to hold it too because I feel like it's quicker, it's easier, I don't have to think about it, but I know there are people who really like a perfect result, and you can get one if you use tape to hold everything secure.
But I'm not perfect, and I can't stand when things look absolutely perfect. I like to see the imperfections and everything.
Yeah, I always like it when things look handmade because I think like that's the point of making it instead of buying it, is that it has that look as if the artist was there. And certainly if you talk about like the history of art and many art movements, most of modern and contemporary art is about having the artist's hand be visible.
Correct. So once you're done adding the gesso.
That was actually really quick. I thought it was going to take you forever.
It actually dries really fast.
Ooh.
So I kind of leave the stencil right on it.
Okay.
Because next we're going to add our paint.
Okay, and it's okay that it's a little bit wet?
It's okay, it's a little bit wet. It's only really for a little bit of background light.
Oh. So this is not, and are these the colors you're gonna see on the top though?
This is the colors you're gonna see on top.
Okay, so what you see is what you get.
Yes, what you see is what you get.
And I noticed that you're using an orange and a yellow, and those are very bright colors.
Yes.
Could you use like navy blue and a deep eggplant?
Yes, you can. It'll just, it won't be as deep because of the white gesso.
Okay.
It'll add a little more brightness to it, but yes, you can use anything you want.
That's cool because it means that you can pick the colors that speak to you, all sorts of the different like ideas, whatever it is that you want. And I know too that like you're mixing those colors together. And so you're actually getting like not only just yellow and not only just orange, but actually kind of a blend of the two, a yellow-orange.
Yes, and you can use this actually technique on anything. I've used it on paper, I've used it on cardboard, I've used it on tags, cards. You can pretty much use it anything.
I love that. And so it means that whether you want to have something hanging in your home or something that you give to somebody as a gift, you can make it work for whatever you need. A journal cover would be awesome.
Oh, yes, it would. This was a concept that came up because I had a dark area in my house and I wanted something that was a little brighter, that kind of looked like stained glass, as it's my favorite. And this is how it came.
So that's so clever. And I love that you can just figure out what you want and then figure out a way to make it.
You can mix a paint. The next step after you do this is adding gloss gel medium to it. You can mix the gloss in with the paint, but I like the see-through look and to see the imperfections behind the paint.
Do you need to let that dry, or is it okay to work wet?
You can actually I've let it dry, but you can do it wet. And what's nice is it mixes the paint in with the modeling paste and sometimes gives it really cool, the gel medium. And so it makes it a lot more fun.
That's really cool. I always like it when things mix together. I think it's really interesting.
Yes.
So now, gel medium is usually used as like an adhesive or a paint extender, but we're actually going to use it here as a top coat.
Yes, you need a window.
Right.
So it's nice. It dries crystal clear, but when you put it on, it is white.
And I see that you're not lifting the stencil. The stencil's been in place since we added that layer of white gesso. So it really means everything's neat and clear. Do you worry about the gel medium rolling underneath the stencil at all?
No, because once the paint is wet, it actually kind of keeps it there.
Really? That's so cool.
And this technique is really forgiving. because of the black gesso behind it, you really can't see the gel medium when it's dry.
So the reason the gesso is a matte, like you said, so it's like the leaded part of the stained glass window, and then the gel medium, because it's specifically a gloss gel medium, because you can get gel medium as matte, you can get it as a semi-gloss. You want that gloss to replicate the feeling of like a window.
Yes, a window.
And of course, it looks very cloudy and white right now, but it's going to dry clear.
It'll dry clear. And you could see in through here, you could see all the different colors all mixing in.
I can see that it's tinting it almost sort of like yellow ambery, which totally does make me think of like stained glass and the window and the whole thing.
I mean, you can add paint together, yellow and orange, and make it in and blend it sort of together so it looks swirls. It's
Super
pretty kind of cool looking. So then when you're done,
now we get to remove the stencil.
Lift it up.
And when it dries, right, it's gonna look something like this, and I can see how beautiful it is. Now, I know that there are two more additional techniques that we can do that you told me about. One is you said we can actually antique this. Will you show us how we can do that?
Yeah, so what you do is you take black gesso.
Okay, so the same thing that we used on the background, but now we're bringing it to the foreground.
Correct. And all you're gonna do is add a little black gesso and water to the... And I just use a sponge. I don't do anything special.
Okay.
I just use a sponge, and you can just do it any way you want.
Oh my gosh, you're covering up everything you just did. But I'm gonna guess that because it's dry, basically what's gonna happen is the water is gonna move it around on that gloss surface.
And you can add a little more water to it.
And it'll just start to run around.
Correct. And then you can just take some paper towel, and you can really just do whatever you want with it.
So cool. And that really just makes it have that sort of antique look.
Yes, yes.
It's amazing how black paint will do that just right away. And because it's a little more matte, you know, you're not so worried about it. Now you are wiping off a lot of it. So it just depends on the look you want.
Look at what, you can just tap it. And what's nice, if you could see some of the white
showing through.
You can always add a little bit more. And
also, if you make a mistake where the stenciling didn't go well, you just cover it up.
You just cover it up.
It's totally fine. And then finally, I know that you told us that at this point, we could actually add some texture, right, with stamping.
Yes, you could. You can add paint to this, and then all you're going to do is
take your favorite, you know, stamp of any kind, something basic.
So right over the paint.
You can go ahead, and now you could also use a rub-on, right?
Yep,
you could also
doodle, anything you want, and you're just going to stamp right on.
And I can see that texture there. It's very nice. It adds a subtle something. And, you know, if we look at some of the finished pieces, this rose one that you did that's beautiful, I can see that texture from the stamping underneath. And I can see that gloss medium in the back. These are so beautiful, and they really do just glow at you.
Yes, they do. They do. They make it's a lot of fun to create.
This was fantastic, Karenliz. I want to try this technique.
Good. I hope you do.